We invented a secret language as kids, and 15 years later it saved her life. My sister Maya and I created our code when I was 10 and she was 8. We called it backwards talk, but it wasn't just saying words backwards. We built an entire system where everyday phrases meant something completely different. The dog needs walking meant I'm in trouble. Did you feed the cat meant call for help. Mom's making spaghetti meant someone's hurting me. I'm going to bed early meant I'm scared but can't talk. We practiced constantly, slipping codes into normal conversation until we could do it without thinking. By the time I left for college, we'd mostly forgotten about backwards talk. I'm 32 now, and Maya is 30. She's been married to Derek for 3 years. He seemed fine when they started dating. Worked in finance, nice enough at family dinners, played golf on weekends, but about 6 months ago, Maya started acting different. Not obviously wrong, just slightly off. She'd always been chatty, calling me 3 times a week to talk about everything and nothing. Those calls got shorter, more careful, like she was choosing every word deliberately. Then the texts started getting weird. She'd send me random messages about stuff we'd never discussed. Hey, remember when the dog needed walking every day? We never had a dog growing up. I've been thinking about getting a cat. Do you think I should feed it twice a day? She was allergic to cats. I figured maybe Derek wanted pets. I didn't think much of it until Thanksgiving dinner at our parents' house. Maya arrived late with Derek. She was wearing a turtleneck even though it was 70 degrees outside. Her makeup was heavier than usual, especially around her left eye. When I hugged her, she winced. During dinner, she barely touched her food. She kept glancing at Derek before answering any questions. When Mom asked if they were still planning their anniversary trip, Maya opened her mouth, but Derek answered first. We decided to stay home. Maya's not feeling up to traveling. Maya nodded, her smile not reaching her eyes. Yeah, I've been really tired lately. After dinner, I found her alone in the kitchen. I asked if everything was okay, and she looked toward the doorway where Derek was visible in the living room, then back at me. Everything's fine, just busy with work. You know, Mom's making spaghetti next Sunday. You should come. My blood went cold. Mom wasn't making spaghetti. We just finished Thanksgiving dinner. I played along. Oh yeah? What time? Probably 6. I'm going to bed early tonight though. Derek wants to leave soon. 2 code phrases in 30 seconds. Someone was hurting her. She was scared but couldn't talk. I walked back to the living room, trying to act normal. Derek was on his phone, and Maya was putting on her coat. I told them it was good seeing them, walked them to their car, watched them drive away. Then I sat in my truck and called Maya's phone. It rang once and went to voicemail. I tried 3 more times. Same thing, like someone had powered it off. I called 911 first, told them I had reason to believe my sister was in immediate danger at her home. The dispatcher asked questions. I explained about the coded messages, about Maya's behavior, about how her phone was suddenly off. She said she'd send officers to do a welfare check. Then I drove to their house 20 minutes away, breaking every speed limit. The lights were on inside. I could see movement through the front window. I tried the door. Locked. I knocked. No answer. Knocked louder. Still nothing. Then I heard it. A crash from inside. Glass breaking. Maya screamed. Derek's voice came through the door, loud and furious. You think you're clever? You think I don't know what you were doing at dinner? Another crash. I ran back to my truck for the tire iron, and that's when the police pulled up. Lights flashing. 2 officers got out, and I explained everything in rushed sentences while Maya screamed again from inside. One officer radioed for backup while the other approached the front door. He pounded on it, announcing police presence. The sounds inside went silent. Then we heard Derek's voice. Calmer now. Everything's fine, officer. Just a domestic disagreement. The officer looked at me, then back at the door. Sir, we need to see that everyone in the house is safe. Open the door. More silence. Then footsteps. The door opened, and Derek stood there, his shirt untucked, his hair messy. Behind him, I could see overturned furniture. Where's Maya? The officer asked. Derek stepped aside, and that's when I saw what he'd been hiding. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Maya is lying on the living room floor, her body unnaturally still, blood pools beneath her head, seeping into the beige carpet. The coffee table is overturned, a corner of it smeared with what can only be her blood. I can't breathe. I can't move. This is my little sister, the one I taught to ride a bike, the one who helped me build forts in our backyard. She fell, Derek says, his voice oddly calm. We were arguing and she got upset. She tripped and hit her head on the coffee table. The officer who let me in, Rodriguez, according to his badge, kneels beside Maya, pressing 2 fingers to her neck. She's got a pulse, he says to his partner. Call for paramedics. Priority 1. Croast. I want to rush to Maya's side, but my legs won't work. The room feels tilted, like I'm on a ship in rough waters. Sir, I need you to step back. The second officer tells Derek, who's hovering too close to Maya. Can you tell me exactly what happened here? Derek runs his hand through his hair, looking appropriately distressed now that he's being questioned. Like I said, we had an argument. She got emotional, tried to walk away, and tripped. It was an accident. Officer Rodriguez looks around the room, at the overturned furniture, the broken vase, the dent in the wall that looks suspiciously like it was made by a fist. And the rest of this? Was that an accident too? Derek's face changes, almost imperceptibly. We knocked some things over during the argument. Before or after she fell? Rodriguez asks, his voice deceptively casual. Derek hesitates. Before. No, during. It all happened so fast. The officer's eyes narrow. Sir, I'm going to need you to place your hands behind your back. What? Why? I told you it was an accident! Derek's voice rises, that careful composure cracking. We'll sort that out down at the station. For now, you're being detained while we investigate what happened here. Rodriguez nods to his partner, who pulls out handcuffs. Derek's face contorts with rage. This is ridiculous. That's my wife. I have the right to. You have the right to remain silent. The officer cuts in, reciting Miranda rights as his partner secures the cuffs. The front door bursts open and paramedics rush in, equipment in hand. They move with practiced efficiency, stabilizing Maya's neck, checking her vitals, speaking in rapid medical shorthand that I can't fully process. Significant head trauma, one says. Possible skull fracture. GCS is 6. We need to move now. They strap her to a backboard, attach monitors, place an oxygen mask over her face. Her skin is so pale it's almost translucent, except for the darkening bruise spreading across her left cheekbone. Are you family? A paramedic asks me. I'm her brother, I manage to say, my voice sounding distant in my own ears. We're taking her to Mercy General. You can follow us. They lift her onto the gurney. As they wheel her out, her hand falls limply to the side. I remember that hand, small and sticky with popsicle juice, reaching for mine when we crossed the street as kids. Officer Rodriguez approaches me while his partner leads Derek to the patrol car. We'll need a statement from you, but it can wait until you've checked on your sister. Do you have any information that might help us understand what happened here? I pull out my phone with trembling hands. She's been sending me coded messages. We made them up when we were kids. She's been trying to tell me she's in danger. I show him the screenshots. The dog needs walking. Mom's making spaghetti. I'm going to bed early. All innocent phrases to anyone else. All cries for help to me. I'll have a detective meet you at the hospital, Rodriguez says, his expression grave. This looks like a pattern, not an isolated incident. The drive to the hospital is a blur. I call our parents, stumbling over words as I try to explain what's happened without sending them into complete panic. They're in Arizona, visiting relatives. They'll catch the next flight home. At the hospital, I pace the waiting room while Maya is rushed into emergency surgery. Epidural hematoma, a doctor tells me. The blow to her head caused bleeding between her skull and brain. The pressure is dangerous. We need to relieve it immediately. Hours pass. A detective arrives. Ramirez, Violent Crimes Unit. She has kind eyes and a notebook filled with questions. I tell her everything. The coded messages. The changes in Maya's behavior. The bruise I saw at Thanksgiving. Derek's controlling presence. The screams I heard through the door. This fits a classic pattern of domestic abuse, Ramirez says. Isolation, control, escalation. The texts you saved may be crucial evidence. Will she wake up? I ask. The question I've been afraid to voice. Ramirez doesn't offer false comfort. Head injuries are unpredictable. The doctors are doing everything they can. Another hour passes before a surgeon approaches, still in scrubs. We've managed to stop the bleeding and reduce the pressure on her brain. She's stable, but we've placed her in a medically induced coma to give her brain time to heal. When will she wake up? I ask. We don't know yet. The next 48 hours are critical. There's significant swelling, and until that subsides, we can't fully assess the extent of the damage. I sit by Maya's bed in the ICU, watching the steady rise and fall of her chest. The only sign she's still with us. Machines beep rhythmically. Tubes and wires connect her to monitors and IV bags. Her head is partially shaved and bandaged. She looks impossibly small, like the 8-year-old who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. My phone buzzes. A text from Detective Ramirez. Derek has been formally arrested for aggravated assault. We're holding him for questioning. Stay with your sister. We'll be in touch. I take Maya's hand, careful not to disturb the IV. I'm here, I whisper. I figured out your message. I'm sorry it took me so long, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Outside the window, night has fallen. The hospital corridors grow quiet as visiting hours end, but they let me stay. I settle into the uncomfortable chair beside her bed, prepared for a long vigil. Remember when we made up backwards talk? I murmur to her. You were so proud of yourself for creating a secret language. Mom thought we were just being silly kids. I squeeze her hand gently. You were always the clever one, Maya. Always thinking ahead. And right now, I need you to be clever again. I need you to find your way back. The machines continue their steady beeping as the night deepens. The doctor's words echo in my mind. The next 48 hours are critical. All I can do is wait and hope and hold onto her hand like I did when we were children, crossing streets together, navigating the world side by side. The next 3 days blend together in a haze of hospital corridors, vending machine coffee, and the rhythmic beeping of Maya's monitors. The doctors keep her in a medically induced coma to reduce the brain swelling. I stay by her side, only leaving when the nurses insist I shower or eat something substantial. Our parents arrive from Arizona, hollow-eyed and shell-shocked, taking shifts with me in the uncomfortable chair beside her bed. Detective Ramirez visits on the second day, her expression grim but professional. We executed a search warrant on the house, she tells me quietly while my parents are getting coffee. There's something you should know. She shows me photos on her tablet, hidden cameras installed in every room of Maya and Derek's house. The bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, living room, tiny, nearly invisible devices tucked into smoke detectors, picture frames, even a phone charger. He was monitoring her constantly, Ramirez explains. We found the feed on his computer, along with months of text messages and emails. He was tracking her location, reading her communications, controlling who she could talk to. My stomach lurches. Did he know about our messages? The code? Probably WAD. The code of WAD. Any quote. If he did, he didn't understand their significance. We found drafts of texts where he was composing responses for her to send to you. Cheerful, normal-sounding messages. But the coded ones appear to be sent when he wasn't monitoring her. I think of Maya, finding those tiny windows of freedom, reaching out the only way she could. There's more, Ramirez continues. His computer contained threatening messages he'd sent her, documenting the escalation over the past 8 months. He was systematically isolating her from friends, family, colleagues. Classic abuser tactics, but meticulously executed. Is it enough to keep him locked up? I ask. Ramirez's expression tightens. That's the other thing I came to tell you. The prosecutor requested he be held without bail, but the judge granted it this morning. $250,000. His parents posted it immediately. He's out? My voice rises, drawing concerned glances from a passing nurse. With conditions, she clarifies. Ankle monitor, surrender of passport, restraining order keeping him 500 feet from Maya, and all medical facilities where she's being treated. That won't stop him, I say, remembering the calculated look in Derek's eyes as they led him away in handcuffs. We know. We've assigned an officer to Maya's room and we're monitoring his movements, but I wanted you to be aware. On the third day, the doctors begin weaning Maya off the sedation. Her intracranial pressure has stabilized. Dr. Patel explains. The next step is to see if she'll regain consciousness naturally. It takes hours. My parents and I watch every twitch of her fingers, every flutter of her eyelids. Finally, around sunset, Maya's eyes open. They're unfocused at first, then gradually sharpen as she takes in her surroundings. Maya? Mom leans forward, clutching her hand. Honey, can you hear us? Maya's eyes find mine. Recognition flickers there, then fear. She tries to speak, but can't around the breathing tube. Her hand twitches frantically. It's okay, I tell her, reaching for the call button. You're safe. Derek's not here. The nurse arrives quickly, followed by Dr. Patel. They remove the breathing tube and check Maya's responses. She can follow simple commands: squeeze fingers, blink, wiggle toes. But when they ask her to speak, she makes only guttural sounds, her face contorting with frustration. The trauma affected the speech center of her brain, Dr. Patel explains. It may be temporary. We'll need to do more tests. The nurse brings a small whiteboard and marker. Maya's hand trembles as she writes her first message. Where is he? Derek's been arrested, I tell her. He can't hurt you anymore. Her eyes widen in disbelief, then narrow. She writes again. Out? I hesitate, and she knows immediately. She scribbles frantically. Dog needs walking. Our childhood code. Danger. Trouble. We know. I assure her. The police know too. There's an officer outside your door. She doesn't look convinced. When the nurse mentions Derek's name while explaining the restraining order, Maya immediately writes, Dog needs walking again, underlining it 3 times. Later that night, when our parents step out to call our aunt, Maya writes more. Her hand is steadier now. Her message is more coherent. 8 months, she writes. Started small. Checking phone. Mad if I was late. Then cameras. Tracking app. Isolated me from friends. Hit where doesn't show. Tears stream down her face as she continues. Threatened to hurt you if I told. Said no one would believe me. Finance guys protect each other. I believe you. I tell her, my throat tight. The police believe you. They found everything. The cameras. The messages. All of it. She writes, not everything. Before she can elaborate, a nurse rushes in. There's a situation, she says tensely. Security spotted someone matching your husband's description in the parking lot. Police are responding, but we're moving you to another room as a precaution. Maya's heart monitor spikes, her eyes wild with panic. I hold her hand as they wheel her bed to another floor, this one requiring keycard access. The new room has no windows to the outside, only to the nurse's station. 2 days later, Maya's speech begins returning, halting at first, then gradually more fluid, though she still struggles with certain words. The neurologist is optimistic about her recovery, though warns there may be lingering effects from the trauma. I want to go home, Maya says on her 5th day in the hospital, her voice raspy from disuse. We're getting your discharge paperwork ready, the nurse assures her. Not that home, Maya clarifies, looking at me. Can't go back there, ever. You're coming to stay with me, I tell her. Already set up my spare room. The relief on her face is heartbreaking. When the doctor comes to discuss her discharge instructions, Maya asks about the restraining order again, confirming its parameters. She listens intently to the safety planning the hospital social worker provides, nodding at each point. As we're preparing to leave, Officer Chen, who's been stationed outside Maya's room, pulls me aside. We've had reports of Derek violating the restraining order twice now, she says quietly. We can't prove he was the one in the parking lot, but a man matching his description was seen again yesterday, watching the hospital entrance. What happens now? I ask. We've documented the violations, but without clear evidence, it's his word against ours. The prosecutor is building the case, but these things take time. Time we might not have, I think, but don't say. The ride to my apartment is tense. Maya flinches at every car that passes too closely, every sudden noise. At my place, she insists on checking every room, every closet, before she'll sit down. I've installed new locks, a security system, motion sensor lights, all the recommendations from Detective Ramirez. That night, Maya's phone, a new one the police provided her, begins receiving texts from unknown numbers. You can't hide forever. This is just making things worse for you. No one will believe you over me. Maya shows me each message without comment, her face expressionless. We forward them to Detective Ramirez, who promises to trace them, though we all know Derek is too smart to use his own phone. How did you do it? I ask Maya later, as we sit in my living room, the TV on low for background noise. How did you survive 8 months without anyone knowing? She looks down at her hands, the bruises on her wrists fading from purple to yellow. I kept thinking it would get better, that he'd stop, that I could fix it somehow. She pauses. By the time I realized I couldn't, he had isolated me from everyone, monitored everything. The only time I could send you those messages was when he was in the shower, or when he thought I was asleep. Why didn't you just say it directly? I would have come immediately. Maya's eyes meet mine, haunted. Because he told me exactly what he'd do to you if I ever tried to leave or tell anyone. Her voice drops to a whisper, and I believed him. I still do. I wake to the sound of glass breaking. For a moment, I'm disoriented, my brain struggling to process the noise. Then, adrenaline floods my system as I realize what's happening. Someone is inside my apartment. Maya, I whisper urgently, shaking my sister's shoulder. She's been sleeping in my room since coming home from the hospital, too afraid to be alone in the spare bedroom. Her eyes snap open, instantly alert. She doesn't need an explanation. The fear on her face tells me she knows exactly who's in our apartment. Dog needs walking, she whispers, our childhood code automatically coming to her lips. I press my finger to my lips and point to the window. My bedroom is on the 2nd floor, but there's a small balcony outside that connects to the fire escape. We practiced this route yesterday, at Maya's insistence. I thought she was being paranoid. Now I'm grateful for her foresight. We move silently, Maya wincing as her still healing body protests. I grab our phones from the nightstand and help her through the window. The night air is cold against my skin as I follow her onto the balcony, carefully pulling the window almost closed behind us. Just as we reach the fire escape, my bedroom door crashes open. Derek stands in the doorway, his silhouette unmistakable against the light from the hallway. Even from this distance, I can see the rage distorting his features. Maya! He roars, lunging toward the empty bed. We don't wait to see more. I help Maya down the metal stairs as quickly as her injuries allow, the structure creaking beneath our weight. My heart hammers against my ribs, every sound seeming impossibly loud in the quiet night. When we reach the ground, I'm already dialing 911 as we run toward my neighbor's house. The police arrive within minutes, but Derek is already gone. Officers search my apartment, finding the living room window shattered and my bedroom ransacked. Maya's clothes are slashed, her few personal items destroyed. On the wall above my bed, Derek has carved a single word, mine. He violated the restraining order, Officer Chen says, taking photos of the damage. This is enough to revoke his bail. We'll put out an APB, but until we find him, you need to go somewhere safe. We end up at our parents' house in the suburbs, a place Derek has never visited. said. Dad installs a security system the next morning. Cameras, motion sensors, panic buttons in every room. Mom hovers around Maya, bringing her tea, adjusting her pillows, trying to fix with small kindnesses what can't be fixed. The DA wants to talk to you, Detective Ramirez tells Maya during her visit 2 days later. They're building the case, but they need your testimony. Maya's hands tremble as she sets down her mug. Will I have to see him? Yes, Ramirez says honestly. But we'll have security measures in place. He won't be able to get near you. Maya nods, her jaw set with determination despite the fear in her eyes. I'll do it. I want him locked up where he can't hurt anyone else. The pre-trial hearings begin a week later. Derek's lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit, tries to paint Maya as unstable, emotionally disturbed, prone to exaggeration. He files motions to exclude the text messages, claiming they're being misinterpreted. Your Honor, he says during one hearing, these so-called coded messages are nothing more than childhood games being twisted to support false allegations. This backwards talk system demonstrates my client's wife's tenuous grasp on reality, not evidence of abuse. I watch Maya's face as the lawyer dismisses our childhood code, the system that likely saved her life. Her expression remains calm, but I can see her fingers digging into her palms beneath the table. The prosecutor stands. Your Honor, the state intends to demonstrate that Mrs. Peterson created this communication system as a child, specifically to convey distress when unable to speak freely. Far from showing mental instability, it shows remarkable foresight and intelligence. The judge allows the messages to be entered into evidence. It's a small victory, but Maya's shoulders relax slightly. The day Maya testifies, the courtroom is packed. Derek sits at the defense table, perfectly groomed in a conservative suit, looking nothing like the man who broke into my apartment in the middle of the night. He keeps his expression neutral, but his eyes never leave Maya as she walks to the witness stand. Maya's voice is steady as she recounts the escalation of abuse, the controlling behavior that began shortly after their wedding, the isolation from friends and family, the surveillance, the violence that started with small shoves and ended with her in a hospital bed with a fractured skull. He told me no one would believe me, she says. He said finance guys protect each other, that he had friends in the police department, that his family had connections with judges. He said if I tried to leave, he would hurt my brother. When she describes the night of the assault, her voice finally wavers. We were arguing about a text from my colleague. Derek thought I was having an affair. I wasn't. When I tried to walk away, he grabbed me by the hair and slammed my head into the wall. I remember falling, and then nothing until I woke up in the hospital. The prosecutor asks her to show the court some of the bruises that weren't immediately visible. Maya stands and lifts the edge of her blouse, revealing yellowing bruises across her ribcage. She pushes up her sleeves to show fingerprint marks on her arms. These are healing now, she explains. He was careful to only hit me where clothes would cover. Derek suddenly stands up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. She's lying, he shouts, his carefully constructed facade crumbling. She's always been unstable. She falls all the time. Tell them, Maya. The judge bangs his gavel. Order, Mr. Peterson. Sit down immediately, or you'll be removed from this courtroom. Two bailiffs move toward Derek, who continues shouting as his lawyer tries to calm him. Maya flinches at each word, but doesn't look away from him. There's something like recognition in her eyes. This is the real Derek, the one she's been living with for 3 years, not the charming man who fooled everyone else. After Derek is restrained and warned, the prosecutor plays a video recovered from Derek's computer. It shows him grabbing Maya's phone, smashing it against the counter, then throwing the pieces at her while she cowers in the corner of their kitchen. The timestamp shows it was taken just 2 weeks before the assault that put her in the hospital. The most surprising testimony comes from Derek's parents. His mother takes the stand, her hands clasped tightly together as she describes witnessing her son's controlling behavior. I saw him check Maya's phone constantly, she says, not looking at her son. He would criticize what she wore, who she talked to. Once, when she laughed at something my husband said, Derek pulled her aside and berated her for 10 minutes. We should have said something then. We should have helped her. Derek's father testifies next, his voice gruff with emotion. We raised him better than this. We don't understand how he became this person, but we can't ignore what he's done. When we found out he'd installed cameras to spy on Maya, we knew we had to come forward. Derek's face contorts with rage as his parents testify against him. The mask is completely gone now, revealing the monster Maya has been living with. When his father describes finding notebooks where Derek had documented Maya's infractions and planned punishments, Derek lunges toward the witness stand, requiring 3 bailiffs to subdue him. As they lead him from the courtroom, he locks eyes with Maya one last time. This isn't over, he says, his voice eerily calm despite his struggle with the bailiffs. You're still mine. Maya doesn't flinch. She looks directly back at him and says clearly, no, I'm not. Outside the courthouse, Detective Ramirez updates us on the case. After that display, the judge revoked his bail. He'll remain in custody until the trial concludes. With the evidence we have and what happened today, I'd be surprised if he doesn't serve significant time. Maya nods, but I can see the tension hasn't left her body. He'll still find a way, she says quietly. He always does. I put my arm around her shoulders as we walk to the car, remembering how she used to protect me from playground bullies when we were kids, despite being 2 years younger. Now it's my turn to protect her. We'll figure this out, I promise her. One day at a time. She leans against me, exhausted from the day's testimony. Did you feed the cat? She asks suddenly. Our code for call for help. Even now, with Derek in custody, she doesn't feel safe. I squeeze her shoulder. I understand, I tell her. We'll call Ramirez when we get home. We'll make sure they know he's still a threat. Maya nods, her eyes scanning the parking lot as we approach the car. The trial isn't over, and neither is our vigilance. Derek may be in custody, but his words echo in my mind. This isn't over, and I believe him. The jury deliberation lasts just over 3 hours. Maya and I sit on a hard bench in the courthouse hallway, not speaking much. She keeps her eyes fixed on the door to the deliberation room, as if she could will them to come back with the verdict we need. What if they don't believe me? She whispers finally, breaking our silence. They will, I say, with more confidence than I feel. They saw the evidence. They saw him lose control in the courtroom. Maya's fingers trace the scar at her hairline, now partially hidden by her growing hair. Derek's lawyer made me sound crazy. All that talk about our childish code being evidence of mental instability. I take her hand, stopping its nervous movement. Our code saved your life. There's nothing crazy about that. When the bailiff finally appears to call us back into the courtroom, Maya's grip on my hand tightens until her knuckles turn white. We file in silently, taking our seats behind the prosecutor's table. Derek is brought in from holding, his expression carefully composed once again, though I notice the slight twitch in his jaw as he scans the room. The jury files in, none of them looking at either Maya or Derek. Bad sign? Good sign? I can't tell. The foreman hands a folded piece of paper to the bailiff, who delivers it to the judge. The silence in the courtroom is absolute as the judge unfolds it, his face giving nothing away. Has the jury reached a verdict? He asks formally. We have, Your Honor, the foreman responds. A middle-aged woman with steel gray hair and kind eyes. On the charge of aggravated assault in the first degree, how do you find? We find the defendant guilty. Maya's breath catches. I squeeze her hand. On the charge of domestic battery, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of false imprisonment, how do you find? Guilty. Each guilty feels like another brick in the wall being built between Maya and the man who tried to destroy her. Derek's composure cracks with each pronouncement, his face hardening into something ugly and familiar. The face Maya saw behind closed doors for 3 years. When the judge asks if he has anything to say before sentencing, Derek stands, straightening his tie. Your Honor, I've been wrongfully convicted based on exaggerations and misunderstandings. My wife has mental health issues that I've tried to help her with throughout our marriage. These coded messages she claims to have sent are evidence of her paranoid thinking, not abuse. I love my wife and only want what's best for her. Maya doesn't flinch. She stares directly at him, unflinching, as he attempts to manipulate the court one last time. The judge isn't having it. Mr. Peterson, the evidence presented in this court shows a clear pattern of escalating abuse and control. Your own behavior during these proceedings has demonstrated your volatility. He pauses, reviewing his notes. I'm sentencing you to 15 years in state prison for the combined charges, with possibility of parole after 10 years. Derek's face contorts with rage. This is ridiculous. She's lying. She's always been. Remove the defendant, the judge orders, and bailiffs step forward to escort Derek out. As they lead him away, he turns to look at Maya one last time. This isn't over, he says, the same words he used in the courtroom before. But this time, Maya smiles slightly. Yes, she says clearly. It is. 3 months later, I help Maya carry boxes into her new apartment. It's small but bright, with large windows and 2 exits, features she specifically requested. The walls are freshly painted in colors she chose herself. The first time in years she's been able to make decisions about her living space without fear of criticism or punishment. Last one, I say, setting down a box labeled kitchen. Maya stands in the center of the living room, looking around with a mixture of pride and apprehension. It feels strange, she admits. Having my own place again, making my own choices. Good, strange, or bad strange. Good, strange. She smiles, and it reaches her eyes, something that's happening more frequently these days. I filed the divorce papers yesterday. I'm taking back my maiden name. Maya Collins, I say, testing it out. Sounds right, she nods, unpacking a framed photo of us as kids, gap-toothed and sunburned from a day at the lake. It feels right, like I'm becoming myself again. Later that evening, after we've unpacked the essentials and ordered pizza, Maya shows me a flyer for the community center 3 blocks from her new apartment. I'm starting a support group, she says, a hint of nervousness in her voice, for women who've experienced domestic violence. The center director loved the idea when I pitched it. That's amazing, Maya. I want to teach them about creating safety codes, she continues, more confident now. Not just our backwards talk system, but other methods too. Ways to communicate danger when you can't speak freely. She taps the flyer. I'm calling it Hidden Messages, Real Help. I remember the 8-year-old Maya who helped create our silly code system, never imagining it would one day save her life. You're going to help a lot of people. That's the plan. She hesitates. Derek's lawyer filed an appeal last week. My stomach tightens. On what grounds? Claiming the jury was prejudiced by his outburst in court, that his previous counsel was ineffective. She shakes her head. Detective Ramirez says it's standard procedure and unlikely to succeed, especially since they transferred him to maximum security after he threatened a guard. The news of Derek's transfer is a relief, though I know Maya won't fully relax until the appeal is denied. In the meantime, we've expanded our code system, creating new phrases for different types of emergencies. We've programmed emergency contacts into our phones under innocuous names, installed panic buttons in both our homes, created check-in protocols. Some might call it paranoia. We call it preparation. 1 year later, I sit in the audience of a hotel conference room, watching my sister address the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. She stands tall at the podium, her voice clear and steady as she describes how a childhood game became her lifeline. Communication is power, she tells the audience of advocates, survivors, and law enforcement professionals. When an abuser isolates you, monitors your phone, controls who you talk to, they're cutting off your access to help. That's why creating alternative communication systems is so crucial. I watch the faces in the crowd as Maya explains our code system, how dog needs walking meant danger, how mom's making spaghetti meant someone was hurting her. People nod, take notes, ask questions during the Q&A about implementing similar systems in their shelters and support groups. Afterward, at the reception, a police officer approaches Maya. We're incorporating your code system into our training protocols, she tells her. It's already helped us identify 3 cases where victims were being monitored but found ways to signal for help. Maya's eyes fill with tears. That makes everything worth it, she says. Later that night over dinner, Maya mentions she has a date next weekend. His name is Eric. He teaches music at the community college. That's great, I say, genuinely happy for her. It's her first date since the divorce was finalized 6 months ago. I'm nervous, she admits, but my therapist says that's normal. She twirls pasta around her fork. I told him about our code system on our 3rd coffee date. I raise an eyebrow. Bold move for early dating, she shrugs. I needed to see how he'd react. If he thought it was weird or unnecessary, that would have been it. And he asked me to teach him all the phrases, then suggested we create some new ones specific to us. She smiles. He gets it. 2 weeks later, Maya and I volunteer at a women's shelter, teaching residents how to create their own code systems. codes. The women range in age from 19 to 67, some with children, some alone, all carrying invisible scars alongside their visible ones. The key is to make it sound natural, Maya explains. Phrases you could say in everyday conversation that wouldn't raise suspicion. A young woman with a healing bruise around her eye raises her hand. What if he checks my phone? Reads all my texts? That's why we practice verbal codes too, Maya says gently. And we can help you set up emergency contacts under different names. There are always ways to communicate, even when it seems impossible. As I watch my sister guide these women through creating their own safety nets, I think about how far she's come from that hospital bed a year ago, unable to speak, writing "dog needs walking" on a whiteboard. Now she's using her experience to help others find their voices. The system we created as children was never meant for this. It was just a game, a secret language between siblings. But in the darkest moments of Maya's life, it became the thread that connected her to safety. After the workshop, as we walk to our cars, Maya looks up at the evening sky. Sometimes I still have nightmares, she admits, that Derek gets out somehow, that he finds me. I know, I say. Me too. She unlocks her car, then turns to me with a determined expression. But even if that happened, which it won't, I'm not the same person he tried to break, and I'm not alone. I hug her goodbye, watching until her car turns the corner before getting into mine. On the drive home, I think about the codes we created as children, and the ones we've developed as adults, the ways we communicate danger, fear, hope, love. Dog needs walking once meant trouble. Now, in our expanded system, we have phrases for different levels of concern, different types of emergencies, and most importantly, phrases that mean I'm safe, I'm healing, I'm finding my way back. Maya is using all of those now, one day at a time.